Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic here at Deakin University. I am delighted to welcome you to Deakin's Inaugural Indigenous Oration. I welcome all those here at the Naikiri Institute and all those who are joining us via live stream. This evening, we are particularly honoured to welcome Dr. Miriam Rose Ungunmerr Baumann, AM and Senior Australian of the Year 2021, who has generously travelled from her own Niolu country in the Daly River region in Northern Territory to join us here today. I would also like to welcome Deakin's Chancellor, Mr John Stanhope, Deakin University Vice-Chancellor Professor Ian Martin, and our Pro-Vice-Chancellor Indigenous Strategy and Innovation, Professor Mark Rose. We begin this evening, as is proper, with acknowledgement of country.
Deakin University would like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people, the traditional custodians of the country on which our Warn Ponds and waterfront campuses are located. We pay our deep respect to Wadawurrung elders and ancestors who have since time immemorial cared for the lands and waterways that surround and sustain us. Deakin seeks to follow in these footsteps of caring for country by promoting sustainability and encouraging our students and staff to walk softly on this sacred land. Through the Naikiri Institute, formerly known as the Institute of Koori Education, Deakin has supported over 1,000 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to gain qualifications while staying grounded in community and culture. Education has a long and rich heritage on this continent, which we aim to honour and reflect in the ways we teach and learn. Everyone at Deakin has a responsibility to contribute to this important objective. At our Geelong campuses, we honour the first teachers, learners and researchers of this country, the Wadawurrung people.
Thanks to our Indigenous Strategy Unit, who prepared that lovely acknowledgement of the land from which we are joining this event today. I add my personal acknowledgement of the Wadawurrung people, who are traditional owners of this land, and I acknowledge their elders, past, present and emerging, and pay my respects to all First Nations people joining us today. I would also like to acknowledge and thank our Naikiri Director, Professor Gabby Fletcher, and the Naikiri community, and thank them for hosting us in this beautiful, beautiful place. We begin this evening with a special performance for Dr. Miriam Rose from Wangu dancers from the Nai community. We are very lucky to have these dancers with us to perform traditional and ceremonial dance form for our event. Please welcome the dancers and musician for this special performance. What a wonderful way to begin. Please join me once more in thanking the Ngayu Wangu dancers and Brent on didgeridoo. Now we are properly underway. For those of you active on social media, please do send out your messages. Our official hashtag for this evening is #Deakin Indigenous Oration. Now, to set the scene for our conversation and introduce the oration itself, I'd like to introduce Professor Ian Martin, our Deakin Vice-Chancellor. Ian.
Thank you very much indeed, Liz. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to our Warn Ponds campus, standing on Wadawurrung country. This is a special place for Wadawurrung, and we know that they have been walking on this land for tens of thousands of years, and it's important to reflect on that in Reconciliation Week. Dr. Miriam Rose and Shane Howard, our two very special guests this evening, welcome to our campus. John Stanhope, our Chancellor, members of the University Executive and Council, Mark Rose, our outstanding PVC Indigenous strategy, and as I was joking today, someone who has a bungee cord to Deakin University Warn Ponds, having been an undergraduate student here and come back on many occasions. Thanks also to Liz, who provides outstanding academic leadership, but to all my colleagues, friends, members of the community, welcome here this evening. This week, alongside Australia, Deakin University and our communities reflecting on the importance of reconciliation. Alongside that and through it, we want to make sure that Deakin, our university, forges its own distinctly Australian identity and legacy. One which brings together all of our histories, our Indigenous, colonial and multicultural histories together to create something that is uniquely and distinctly Australian. It's important for Deakin, and has been important for all of the nearly 50 years we've been in existence, that we find ways to unite people from different cultures and experiences. It's part of what we are as a university. And as part of that journey, it's vitally important to recognise and respect the traditional owners of the land on which we live, work and play, and their immense contributions to our history, much of which, unfortunately, unsung and unseen. But that is changing, and that is great that it is changing. As we've commented, our campuses are built on the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung people here in Geelong, the Wurundjeri people of the Greater Melbourne Narm region, and the Ungunmerr people of the Warrnambool region. Our strategic plan, Ideas to Impact, puts our commitments to First Nations people at the heart. I quote, "Deakin is committed to reconciliation and treaty, advancing the educational aspirations of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and moving Indigenous knowledge into the mainstream of Australian life. All our endeavours aim to reflect on Australia's full history and seek to build an inclusive future." At Deakin, while those endeavours are the responsibility of everybody in our university community, our flagship initiatives are where we are now, Naikiri, our Niel precinct, and more recently, something I'm incredibly pleased to be part of, the Vice-Chancellor's Indigenous Advisory Council that Mark has helped me establish. Mark's unit, the Office of Indigenous Strategy and Innovation, has helped shape how we respond to the challenges of reconciliation and shape that really important future for our university. The members of that Indigenous Advisory Committee are distinguished leaders of Indigenous communities, not just from our region, but from across Australia. And in recognition of their contribution and commitment to delivering for us, helping us provide a critical voice in how we shape our future, I've appointed all of them Vice-Chancellors, Distinguished Fellows, to recognise their standing in their community and the contribution to Deakin University. These Distinguished Fellows are Auntie Dr. Geraldine Atkinson, President of BAEd, Professor Lester Irabina Rigney, AM, Professor of Education from the University of South Australia, Angela Singh, Regional Director, Northwest Region of the Department of Education and Training, Lionel Bamblett, General Manager for BAEd, Antoinette Gentile, Acting Deputy Chief Executive de Jira, Mick Coombs, the Director of Aboriginal Economic Development for the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions, and Karina Eccles, who is from the Wadawurrung Traditional Owners Aboriginal Cooperative and very well known to so many in the room here. I do want to extend my thanks and congratulations for what you've done already, but what you will continue to do. Thank you so much. Now, to tonight's main event, the Indigenous Oration. Tonight is our inaugural Indigenous Oration. It's an important initiative that we hope will become, well, not hope, it will become a mainstay on our annual calendar during Reconciliation Week. Timing to do it this week was really important. The annual Indigenous Oration has been established to make sure we promote and celebrate First Nations voices, perspectives and issues. It's one small demonstration of Deakin's commitment to reconciliation and Indigenous knowledges and the central importance that they have in Indigenous life and culture. For our first Indigenous Oration, we are absolutely delighted to welcome Dr. Miriam Rose here to our university. In 2021, Miriam Rose was named the Senior Australian of the Year. She's an Aboriginal elder from Nauru and a renowned artist, activist, writer and public speaker. She was the Northern Territory's first fully qualified Aboriginal teacher and went on to visit schools throughout the top end, advocating for art to be taught as part of every child's education. But importantly for tonight, she's one of ours, because in 1988 she attained a Bachelor of Arts from Deakin University and 2 years later began training as a school principal. In 1993, she graduated from Deakin with a Bachelor of Education, and in the same year was appointed principal of St Francis Xavier's School of Daly River. In 1999, she achieved the triumvirate with Deakin and completed a Master of Education, and of course she achieved a high distinction. Among her many, many initiatives and achievements, she established the Miriam Rose Foundation, a not-for-profit organisation working to empower Indigenous youth through education, art, culture and opportunity. She served for several years as president, the first woman in the role of the Nauru Community Government Council, an Aboriginal organisation that operated the leasing arrangements for the Daly River community. Throughout her life, she's remained dedicated to maintaining the cultural independence of her people. In 1998, she became a member of the Order of Australia for services to Aboriginal education and art and to the Nauru community. She was also awarded an honorary PhD in education from Charles Darwin University. I could go on, but I'm not going to. It's much more important, Miriam, that we hear from you tonight. So please welcome to the stage Dr. Miriam Rose to deliver in conversation with Mark our first Indigenous Oration. Couldn't be a better way to start this wonderful achievement. Over to you.
Fall on top of you. Is that it?
Yeah. I think our mic's right.
Father Christmas?
We were talking that we look like they got these seats from Myers at Christmas, so. And I'm looking for early retirement jobs, so so this might be the start of something really new, Miriam. I'd like to, as the Gunditjmara band, recognise this as Wadawurrung country and pay respects and bring the compliments of my elders and the respect of my ancestors to this meeting. And Ian, thank you for that introduction. Miriam. It's good to be home. It's good to be back at Deakin. And we're going to take a journey through significant parts of your life in conversation. I said that I'm a bit nervous because I studied journalism here in the late 70s, early 80s, and I failed interviewing techniques. And I feel that this is another examination, so On your hand, you were a high distinction student, so you might help me out, all right? So when I do interview our mob, I always say, who's with you? We acknowledge ancestors, but who's with you?
I've got my sister's grandkids with me, and I'm their nana too.
Yeah,
And ancestors,
yeah.
our ancestors are with us
Always
today.
with us.
Always.
Is there an ancestor or family that you,
Family.
who's with you specifically? Or?
Yo.
Yeah. Do you want to? No.
What?
Do you want to talk about an ancestor that's with you all the time, that where you draw strength from?
I can't say their names.
Okay, all right.
You call yourself blackfellow, you got to listen.
Yeah. I told you I barely passed interviewing techniques. Growing up, I hear that you've got a great story about growing up on country. Would you like to share that?
Well, I was born in the bush, under a tree. That's what my mum said. By the banks of the Daly, but not near the water though. Grew up, my father passed away when I was little, and his brother took me on and said to my mum, you look after the little ones, I'll take her and her older sister. And he was working with the police there as a tracker. And we went everywhere with the police. When he was transferred from one station to the other, mainly along the Stewart Highway. And I had no chance of wagging school. Because he had me on camera, the copper. But no, that was really good in the sense that I knew that there was support from them as well as my family. And then his wife, it was amazing because he's my dad's brother. Well, you'd say that it'd be your uncle, but for us, as Aboriginal people, he's my other dad. And he was married to my mum's sister. So she was just naturally my mum as well. She passed, and then he was very traditional about culture. And he said to me, because you're a girl and your sister, you can't stay with me. It's not an accepted thing. You have to go back to your birth mum. So we organised for a priest to come and get us, take us back, and we continued our education with the nuns at home, at Nauyu. And then they sort of offered me a job after when I left school to work in the school as an assistant. Well, they tried me in the health centre, and I felt like that wasn't me. I was scared of dead people and people who bled a lot from accidents. And I said, no, that's not me. And then when they put me in a classroom to work with the kids, I said, yes, I like that. Yeah. And then they organised for me to go to training. That was at Berrimah, at a place called Comilla College, which is now called Halle-Berry. Yeah. That was before Bachelor Institute started. Yeah. That was where it started, and then they moved it to Bachelor. And then you came along.
Miriam, can I, Camilda, for people from the Territory, know that that is a very significant place in Aboriginal education. Bachelor is another one. There was Tranby in Sydney, very significant early adopter. You've used South Australian, there was the task force there. And of course in Victoria we had Koori College. That morphed into this place, the Institute of Koori Education. And some of those still exist and some don't. tell us about your bachelor experience, because bachelor was where you engaged with Ike and Deakin University. Ike was delivering through bachelor at the time.
Deakin had partnered up with Bachelor Institute, and well, I was working as a teacher for Catholic education in the Northern Territory, and then, like anywhere else, I suppose, different organisation would ask, and in particular teachers, for them to upgrade. So that was one of the things, and then I decided, why not? It'd be a good break from kids humbugging me in the classroom, like them two over there, or the three there, the oldest ones. I'll run away to Bachelor. And did the course when you worked jointly with Bachelor. And then I'll come back then when I completed it. Kath had offered me a job as in the principalship after 3 years.
Fantastic.
And then I trained about 7 more others that had also done the course with you, with Bachelor. And there's 7 teachers now that have got a degree, Bachelor of Arts in Education. So, yeah, they were all in my age group. And I reckon we were more successful than young ones going to study, because they keep running away.
And the way you care for kids is immense. You were very worried where the kids were tonight. So when you came in, and I misled you, I said we were enrolling them in courses here. But you always...
But you first said that they were hungry and you were feeding them in the cafe somewhere.
I wasn't very convincing, was I?
No.
No.
Well, no matter what you say, because you always doubt yourself in being not a very good reporter. So whatever you say to anyone, you're still the same.
Liz, we're not doing Deakin Achieve at the moment, are we? No. That's good.
But it was a lovely surprise. Thank you, Nanas. Good on you.
Your work with kids is immense. You've been working with kids since the moment you got here, in schools, Sacred Heart and Colac. And would you like to share with the group some observations from the little kids that you worked with about you living on country?
First of all, because being an educator was a brand new thing to our people in the community, and they were always at me, especially the elders in my community, in saying, what do you think you're doing? And when I was in classrooms or doing things outside on the playground, activities and that, and I said, it's no different from our women who played the role of looking out for the menfolk and the children. But it was a man's world, it wasn't a woman's world kind of thing, And that's all it is that I'm doing. And I'm doing it in a way that I'm also accepted by the Western way of teaching our kids. And whatever I'm teaching is, a lot of it's to do with what you've told me about, and I'm passing it on. And that's what we're supposed to do, aren't we? I was saying to them.
Absolutely.
And they got the message and understood. And I continue to encourage kids to go away from community and go to boarding school elsewhere in different states throughout Australia. We've got an ex-student, the girl that was wearing the long skirt, that's Louise. She was going to Siena, she finished now in Camberwell, and I've encouraged her to go there. And the 2 boys are at Monterey in Hamilton right now. Any excuse to run away to be with me. But look, through the foundation, I've got 4 pillars. I think you might have mentioned it before, or Who's the gentleman that was talking before? Nah, yeah, I've got 4 pillars: art, culture, opportunity, and education. And wherever our kids are, like here, for example, if there's an offer of me, people wanting me to go and talk at things such as this, or at the schools, or to the educators, that sort of thing, I'll put my hand up really fast and say, yeah, I'll go, because the kids are there at a school in that state, so why not? And it helps them to not feel too lonely or homesick, and it's good. And they've been surprising me all the time. I've been here since, what day? Saturday. I've been here since Saturday, and there's always that surprise. And I was telling a friend who I was staying with in Colac, don't tell anybody in Victoria that I'm here, because I'm a wanted person. By countrymen too. And she must have whispered to some of the teachers that I knew from St. Joey's in Geelong, and Colac, Clonard, and in Hamilton. And one of the teacher friend come up the stairwells at her place and said, anybody home? And another friend said, yes, we're here. But Julie, the one that is where I was staying, she was away with the kids on the beach, mind you, and she made them swim in the sea with everything on, surfing and so on, riding the waves. Anyway, he come up the stairwells and, hi, how are you? And I'm going, I told Julie, don't tell him that I'm here because I'm going to surprise him. But it was the other way around. She told him I was there, and she made him, asked him to come up and see me. And when he walked up this last set of stairs, I said, what the f you doing here? I hope that didn't come through the mic.
We know you do a lot of work in the Catholic Church, so it's being live cast to the Vatican at the moment.
The Edmund Rice person that had rung and said, I've got to be careful, you know, in what I say to people, in front of people. And this Edmund Rice person is writing something up about Edmund Rice schools, and it was in relation to education, of course. And he said there are 4 people that really stand out, and when it comes to educating people and young people. Edmund Rice, even died, and another person that we can't remember what his name is, he's gone. And then Jesus, and he's gone, but he's here in spirit, and me. And then everyone's saying, or the lady that was reading out that piece of the paragraph, she said, you're right up there with Jesus, she said. Oh my God, I said.
Oh my God.
And I've got to watch where I walk too, because I don't want anyone to touch my clothes as I'm walking past, you know. So you have to carry a whip and I only thought about that because you thought that you're going to report me to the church.
No. We're good. Just while we're talking about kids, though, you asked some really interesting questions in school the other day about what you have at your home and where your home is.
What's the school again? St. Mary's? Sacred Heart. In Colac Primary School. From the smallest to the biggest. The oldest were 12 years old, and the youngest was, what, about 4, 5, yeah. And at once, several times, they'd all come into the auditorium or hall and sit and fill up the whole area. And they'd be asking, and because I was telling them where I was from, where I was born, where I grew up and all that. And I think it was because I said I was born in the bush, under a tree. Them little ones up the front, sitting down, they'd say, questions they'd ask, and one said to me, "Have you got a house?" And I'm saying, I looked at it, my friend, and don't worry, it's only a prep. They can ask these sort of questions. Yeah, but is it because but the reason why he asked that question, I said, is it because I said that I was born in the bush, and he probably thinks that I'm still a humpy? And I said, no, we live in a house. You got power? Yeah, we've got power like this. What sort of house? And Brent, one of the boys from Monterey, said, yeah, we've got brick houses like you mob here in the city. And then, but have you got a hose to water the garden? You know, just things like that. Oh, they're really funny. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, out of the mouths of kids. I've done a little bit of research, unlike when I was a student here in the 70s, and I came across the African American Registry, where there's an article on you, and it talks about you telling people to read the country and to read textbooks. What's the message there?
Can you repeat that thing again, please?
And
what do you mean? Talk more. Explain what it is that you want me to say.
Just you wrote it. No.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad I didn't go to Wikipedia.
That was a long time ago.
I know, but I think it's a beautiful statement about, and what we're doing here at Deakin through Glow 8 is getting our non-Indigenous colleagues to take their shoes off and feel Mother Earth through the process. So have you got any suggestions for us as we go down? Read the country as much as you read textbooks. How can that be part of education today?
That sounds more better, that question, because you said it the opposite way before.
I told you I didn't pass.
I'm the writer of, or whether if you've come across it, the writing Aboriginal Spirituality on Tatiri. It's deep listening, silent, still awareness. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
We've got to be continuously becoming aware of things around us, people, and so on, and the land that we walk on. You know, the government just had an election, and there's always issues about climate change, too much things making all the weathers go wrong, you know, flooding in Lismore and Queensland and so on. I mean, we get flooded too by the daily, and we've got to look after the land that we walk on. You call yourself an Australian. Australia is just as much as my home as it is yours, and you belong to it just as much as we do. And you have to be told that. And we're here now today, supposed to be in Reconciliation Week, and the theme is be brave and make changes. We've got all starting to listen more to each other.
Beautiful.
You know, a lot of us have grown up and learned to speak your language. And we know now how you live and function in your towns and cities and what you expect of everybody and us. I invite people to come to my community. Don't all rush down there, please. To get to know about people, my homeland, and how we live and function in those places. Students, families are always coming, and the tours are Dadiri tours. We've got to learn to listen more to each other and support and have an understanding of each other. The nuns, when they taught me, they said, you've got to learn to walk in two worlds. I did my best, as much as I could.
That's good.
Is that?
That's beautiful, yeah. I'm lost for words. It's really is.
By the way, if you want to know what Dadari is, have a look up. It's on the website, Miriam Rose Foundation. It's in there, the writing, and I'm the writer of it, of my people. Oh, this Dadari comes from Nauyu, Daly River.
In my research around it, I've been a big fan of it, and I'm not sure that I completely understand it, but you said it can't be taught in an ABC interview, I hope. Were you meaning that it's something that you don't learn it in class, or it's something you just move into?
I can talk to you as much as about Dadari,
Yeah,
but you've got to be open,
yeah.
as in your spirit, to be able to accept what it is that we're trying to say to you. But a lot of the times it's to do with your business, you know, from day in and day out. That sort of prevents you from finding your spirit. To be able to be free. He matters, unfortunately. I matter. Everybody belongs.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and have some time to yourself. I see a lot of people in cities and towns going for exercise, you know, exercising, pump walk and all that sort of thing, or walking slowly. There's sort of times that you can have to go and sit under a tree and listen to the sounds, and it's to replenish your spirit so you can go on again next day. Daly River is famous for barramundi fishing, and it's famous for crocodiles as well. And tourists come and fish off the bank, and we go and check on them and say, mucking around, any fish? Can I have some? You know, that sort of thing. No, we didn't catch anything. Why? Why isn't there a lot of fish? And I say, oh, it's because that we've never had really good rain for the past 3 years. And the river wasn't running as good as it should have. And then I say, so that's why there's hardly any fish. And I say, nature is telling us that they have to replenish the fish, the barramundi. So we have to do that too.
Last Monday week, we all woke up from the election. Some of us were overwhelmed, some of us were underwhelmed. It's the nature of democracy. But the theme of tonight was, if this country listened deeply, what would it be? How would we know that as a nation that we listened deeply? We woke up with great enthusiasm the other day that the new Prime Minister put the flags behind, promised statement from the heart, whatever that may look like. But are we just grabbing onto things, or has this country listened deeply when it should have?
It hasn't gone as far as at the moment because of the changes with COVID and new Prime Minister, and he's slowly picking it up in what the people were saying at Uluru. And I was talking to people before and saying, he's got to get to understand he's now the boss of Australia, and also go through the things that he has to do some follow-ups on, and one of them is the Uluru statement. And before it gets any further, his government would have to accept in what the people are saying to government to enable them then to carry out what it is that we want for government to help us with, I think.
And for our own community, the northern communities and the southern communities, what do we need to do?
Listen.
Yeah.
I was just saying that before. You don't listen, eh?
You know, I did pass the course though. But your perception of communities at the moment, like I did a talk, we yarned about it last night, that there's a whole lot of extraneous pressures on our communities at the moment. And I said to you that I'm sick of people in our communities fighting over boundaries in native title, when we should get back to what we do best and push the boundaries and push boundaries together. So,
and all the countrymen coming together too, with people squabbling about, that's my place kind of thing. So if the Uluru statement has to go forward, they've got to also look into that and find out the proper people of that country.
Here in Victoria, we're pursuing a treaty, but sometimes I just wonder whether we need a treaty amongst our Aboriginal communities, that we, you know, if we do listen deeply, we'll get to that one voice. And at the moment, we don't know whether we want a sovereign treaty or a treaty or a legislative space in the Constitution, or a referendum base, and then there's a whole overlay of treaty, of sovereignty. So have we fractured too much to be able to come back together as one voice? Because I love some of the words that I research about walking one way down the street, then walking the other way down, you know. But for us, I'm just wondering if you've got any comments for Aboriginal communities.
In how?
In landing on a position to take the greatest advantage of this change that came about in the new. The statement of the heart is beautiful. It's eloquent words. It's very, very special. I know the people who crafted the language around it, but you have been there and I've been there in the ATSIC days and in the Congress days, and I'm just wondering if you've got any thoughts on how we can land on being one voice, or are we just always going to be, 400 or 500 different nations with their own view?
Did you pass in you being a reporter?
Sorry?
Did you pass when you studied?
Yeah.
A reporter?
But interviewing wasn't my greatest gift, and you'd probably pick that up.
Well, there's something about you when you're asking me a question, you don't just ask one question.
That reminds me.
You've asked, I don't know, how much? 6 or 7 questions in the same breath.
I probably need to write that down.
So I'm flat out, poor bugger me, because
Which of those 6
I
would you
might
like to
have
answer?
dementia too, because I'm trying to keep up with all of those questions that, what are the things that I'm going to say when he's finished questioning me, asking all these questions.
Let me cut to the headline. Do Aboriginal communities need to come together in a more unified voice? Mm-hmm. And is deep listening the way to do it?
Look, it's not just an Aboriginal spirituality.
Yeah.
You have it. Sorry, you're black fella.
Yeah.
You have it. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
It's just that they've never been given the opportunity to be told that you have spirituality too. I'm not talking about church. I'm just talking about your spirit individually. Because our spirituality is based on nature. Mm-hmm. It's not based on materialism. So
That's weird.
before you start, what's naming?
Hey,
Listen to me first. You're going to start asking me more questions.
no, I'm just saying that I might ask dodgy questions, but you give beautiful
Go,
answers.
you
all
go.
right? Deadly.
What? Is that what you wanted to say?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I thought you were going to
Your
ask me
wisdom.
some more questions.
Yes. Just before we edge to the end, when you received that Australian Senior Person of the Year award, I got a call that night from John Henry, who was really excited and just wanted to tell me what a brilliant person you are, and you know, and he was really excited about that award. Then a couple of weeks, and we promised to catch up for coffee to look at a way in which we could recognise it symbolically throughout the university. And then tragically, John Henry passed, and so I feel that it would be remiss if we didn't mention his contribution to the early days of IKE and to individual people like yourself. Yeah.
He was the one that supported us and me to continue with my studies in the degrees that I'd gotten from Deakin, and he was very special to us. There were others that followed, but at the very beginning, and it was because that I wanted to continue to get, 3 degrees that was mentioned earlier on. And I said, look, if I can do it, you can do it too. So there were others that had followed in my community and became teachers and educators. But it was because of Mr. Henry. We're not supposed to say names, okay? Traditionally, and he was really special. And it's sad that he's not here, but I know he's here in spirit with us tonight. And thank you to his family that are present here as part of the audience. And I miss him today. Otherwise he would have been here with us. He is in spirit.
I'm trying to condense 8 questions into one. You're really putting pressure on me, Miriam. But where I'm heading...
That's what reporters do anyway.
I know, yeah. I reckon I'll get a job as Santa Claus on the big seat before I get one at Current Affair. A word of wisdom. One of the things that bounds out of your spirit and your personality and your whole being is that you're a solid person and you're standing on solid rock. And the work you do with young people, the work you do in schools, is just an extension of that. And your cultural upbringing up there at the river without the hose and the electricity.
In a humpy.
And at the humpy. And you know, your incursion into Western education and how you've married the two together and remain solid is an immense achievement. So this is a statement. I'm doing Q&A Tony Jones now. It's a statement rather than a question, but it's really clear that, you know, you are standing on solid rock and solid ground, solid country. And I know the work you do with adults and with kids is to give them the same opportunity. So won't everyone join me in thanking you, Miriam Rose, Senior Australian of the Year, educator, activist, and a very deadly blackfella. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your spirit and your contribution. And during my you recorded a whole lot of ABC, Sydney Morning Herald, not so much on Sky TV, right, Miriam, but that's all right. That's probably a good thing. But can I just get one sentence that blew me away? And it is, let tiny drops of stillness fall gently through your day. You wrote that in a poem about deep listening.
Can you say it slowly?
Okay.
I'm still learning about English. Go.
Well, obviously, so am I. So let tiny drops of stillness fall gently through each and everyone's day. That's a wish that you said. I think it's a beautiful statement, and it's a very nice point to leave this conversation with Miriam Rose. Won't you give her a big hand?
Tonight, and I've been getting people to help me up and down the stairwells, and it's because I've got a bodgy knee. I had one done here in St. Vinny's in Melbourne, and now I've got to get fixed. I've got to fix the other one, and I'll get there. They can't do anything at the moment because they're behind because of COVID. So I'm on a waiting list to come back down. What?
Ian's going to give you something.
Oh. You're really slow.
Miriam, can I, on behalf of everybody at the university and our community, thank you. I was asked to say a few words, and really I think there are only two words I want to pull out, and that's deep listening. Deep listening to each other and deep listening to country, and I think that enshrines everything you've taught us tonight. I've got a great job because I get to meet some incredible people during my job. Tonight is a highlight for me. Thank you on behalf of everybody, and there's just a small gift to mark this wonderful event. So thank you for taking time and coming down from the territory and freezing in Melbourne weather tonight. So thank you and safe travels. It's just been a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to say one more. I didn't ask you to come here tonight. You asked to come to listen to me and this man here. But all I want to say is, it's in relation to celebrating reconciliation. Be brave and make change.
Yeah, great.
Everyone.
Thank you so much again, Miriam. And I can assure you, you have a standing job to come and keep my senior leadership team in order. You did it brilliantly. To finish this evening, we have another very special guest who's with us tonight. Can I invite Shane to join us on stage to mark and celebrate in his own inimitable style. Shane, welcome to the stage.
The Immaculate Contraption. An honour to be here in such company. Deep memories here for me too as a student at Geelong Teachers College, and then in '78 when it became Deakin University, I was the first student president here. And the year after, I was a groundskeeper. And I planted all those trees that are up on the north side as you drive in there. It's beautiful, and watered them through hard summers. It's beautiful to see them now grown to maturity. Goanna, of course, emerged out of Geelong and out of this country. And it's hard going the other way too, Miriam. I had to find my way into country. I didn't know where I was. I had all the whitefellow stuff, but I had to find my way into Aboriginal Australia. And Solid Rock threw me headfirst in there. And what a journey that's been. When Goanna finished up and we ended up in debt and a lot of trouble, everything went wrong. And I was lost in this wandering round. And I ended up at the handback of Uluru and travelling with Bart Willoughby and Bunalori and Coloured Stone all through the Northern Territory and ending up in Broome. And for 7 years I ended up in North Queensland, Murray country. And I fell through the safety net of white Australia, and black Australia caught me. I'm forever grateful. And particularly those Murrays in Queensland, where I spent those 7 years. And there's a song that I wrote out of that time called Murray Town. Murray man, Murray woman, I have seen a dream come true. Do you remember hills. I love washing. Love was me. Morita. And brother, sister, now our time's growing short. Do we fear what we face? Do we still carry a torch? How long do these scars take to heal? To be free, to be free once again. Marty May, Marty woman, do you still walk on that same sacred ground? Do you remember special feeling down in Musgrave Park? Brisbane tears fall like rain. Murray Lane. Now we're standing at the crossroads. Brighter days. I hear some people say, but I hear other distant voices saying, take me back. Take me way, 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 way to Murray time. By the lake, down by the river, down by the ocean, where the mangroves grow. I see you fishing in that water. From Integ to Brannigan's Grave. Marty man, Marty woman, I won't forget things you done. And I hope that new days come in, but you're not gone. You just carry on like you always done. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard. It's not easy to be on the bridge between worlds. It's hard. But what did you say the motto is this year? Be brave and be strong, you know? The rewards are great. Yeah, the rewards are great. But it's hard. It's easy to turn away. Yeah. It was reassuring to hear the new Prime Minister. One of the first things he said to commit to the Uluru Statement from the Heart. It was reassuring after so many years wandering in the desert. My brother Clarence from Normanton up in the Gulf Country, he keeps life real for me when I get carried away and when I get in this modern world. His life is hard. He's an Aboriginal fellow from there. He's a traditional owner from that country. He would be a chieftain, you know, a man of high degree, but our world makes him a smaller man. But he knows who he is in his country. And this week he was flown from Normanton to Mount Isa because of dialysis, diabetes, complications. And he nearly died. He got to Mount Isa and they said, we need to fly him to Townsville. But they weren't sure that he would make it there. And his wife rang, you know, and she was worried that if he went to Townsville, he might pass away there on his own. And she said, at least if he's in Mount Isa as family, we can drive down 5 hours and see him and be with him. Specialists flew out from the Royal Flying Doctor from Townsville to Mount Isa Hospital because they don't have the equipment, and those specialists flew with my brother Clarence back to Townsville Hospital. It's one small example of our Western system accommodating, you know, one of our Aboriginal brothers or sisters. 2 days later, I got a phone call, and it was my brother Clarence on the phone going, "Good morning, brother, how are you?" And I went, "Are you ringing for me from the Dreamtime? What?" And he said, "No," he said, "they've been draining that fluid from my heart, brother. I'm still here. I'm waiting till you come up here. I want to see you." You know, it's just real life, you know. It's been too hard for too long, and yeah, let's be brave, let's be strong, let's really, really make that change. The rewards are all there, the treasures are all there. Out here nothing changing, not in a hurry anyway. Can feel the endlessness with the coming of the light of day. Talking about a chosen place, they want to sell it in a marketplace. Don't forget. A minute now, standing on a solid rock, standing on sacred ground, living on borrowed time, and the winds of change, they're blowing down the line. about the dawn of time, the dreaming all began. Proud people come, they're living here in a promised land, running from a heart of darkness, searching for a heart of light. This could be paradise. And they were standing on solid rock, standing on sacred ground, living on borrowed time. And the winds of change, they were blowing cold that night. Standing on the shore one day, water over white sails in the sun. Wasn't long before you felt that sting. White man, white law, white gun. Tell me it's justified. There's somewhere there Captain Cook lies. Eternally was a lie. Yeah, who's that crying? Yeah, but we're getting stronger now. We're getting stronger now. Can we get it together in this country? The tyrannies lie. Well, it spread like a cancer. Eddie Marble brought the truth. He brought the law. He brought the answer. Go back to the center, deep into the heart, to truth and treaty, and then we all be standing on Pulikompunka, Narani, Mantamil Mil Pakatu, Nyuntukuronka, Narani, Walpakapo Kuchiparani, Walpapulka Ringani, Pulikompunka, Narani, Mantamil Mil Pakatu, Nyuntuironka, Narani, Walpakapo Kuchiparani. Walpapulka Ringani, solid rock, standing on sacred ground, living on borrowed time, and the winds of change keep blowing down the line. Yo, Gaurav Miller Market.
Thank you so much, Shane, for a perfect end to a wonderful evening. I remember vividly the first time I heard that song. I was much younger than I am now, and I was so excited by the beat, the tune, but most of all the inspiring lyrics, and that call to action stays with us now. It has been a wonderful evening, and I could not think of a better way to establish this event for Deakin and its communities. I know we've all been inspired on many levels, and we will take that thoughtful commitment to deep listening into our lives and work. Thank you for joining us this evening, whether you are listening in online or here at Naikiri. We look forward to your participation in future events that celebrate our First Nations people and the part Deakin can play in a better future. For those here in Naikiri, I hope you will now join us for refreshments in the foyer. Thank you, and a very good evening to you all.